Hello, good morning, good afternoon. My name is Polly. I would like us to go through a masterclass in communication. We are talking to probably new managers or people who are already in management positions, and you need to communicate. Communication is key. If you are delegating or even giving feedback, you will need to communicate. So, how do we communicate effectively as managers? We need to be heard, but people also need to action to what we are telling them. So, we are looking at essential skills for leaders or those that we lead. And there are a few questions that I would like us to ask ourselves. And scenarios when leaders communicate. Then, don't we want to inspire and engage? You want an engaged workforce. Then communicating with confidence. We will look at effective leadership communication. How does that look like? How about powerful listening skills? Then, what are barriers to effective communication? At times we will communicate, there may be barriers. I would like us to look at that as well. Then communication can be learned. You need to purpose to learn to communicate effectively with the teams or the people that you lead, or even colleagues when you communicate with colleagues. So let us ask ourselves the following questions. What is the purpose of the conversation? So whenever you communicate, you need to ask yourself this question. Why am I communicating? What is the purpose for me? Even not from the person that I am communicating with. For me, what is the purpose? Then, what is the purpose for them? What message do I want to give or to receive? What is my state going into the conversation? I know you know just as much as I do. There are certain times when you have gone through different things in this life and you are not in a state to communicate or to have a proper conversation. So the timing of your conversation or communication is key. So how are you feeling when you communicate? Is this an important discussion that you are having? If so, then you need to check the state of your mind, your state. Are you in a good position to communicate important things to those you are communicating with? Then, how do I communicate? Is it physically? Is it virtually? Do I do an email? Do I call the person to my office? What mode of communication works for the communication I am about to deliver? What challenges or questions might the other person have? So, as a communicator, you need to put yourself in the shoes of this other person you are communicating with. Figure out what questions are they likely to ask so that as you communicate, you have answers ready for the things that are likely to come up. Then there are different scenarios when we as leaders communicate. And the first one, and the most important one, is setting goals and expectations. You here have put goals and expectations together. Because when you communicate to people, you give them goals, and the goals must be smart, meaning they are goals that are measurable, they are attainable, they are relevant, they are time bound. So the leaders will communicate the vision, the mission, and goals of the organization. And you need to align your team and the people that you lead and motivate them towards that common objective? Are we walking in the same direction? Do we understand the vision? Do we understand the mission? Do we understand the strategy that we have in place? Where are we going as a team? Where are we going as an organization? So the first thing when you communicate, you could be setting goals and expectations. You could be providing feedback and coaching. Leaders communicate constructive feedback. You provide coaching to your team members so that they improve on their performance and they also achieve their full potential. That's why you'll need to coach them. You will need to give them feedback. And when I talk about feedback, you are giving them timely feedback. So if there are things they need to improve, they are already told in advance. And when you give feedback, you are giving feedback on actual things that happened. If, for example, you attended a meeting and the report was not properly done, you will give the provider of the presentation a feedback immediately after this meeting, so that you don't forget and they also don't forget. So it is timely feedback. You're also coaching them. So next time they come to the meeting, they'll ensure that they have a better report. Managing conflict in the workplace, in the marketplace, in different societies and places that we go to, there will be conflict. So, are you a leader? How do you communicate? How do you manage conflict? How do you resolve? Do you maintain a positive and productive environment where people feel safe and secure, where people feel that in the event of a conflict, their leader is not siding with one person, making decisions? Leaders communicate the rationale behind the decisions that they made. You could involve your team in decision-making process when it is appropriate. So you bring out an issue, you discuss, then you as the leader will communicate the decisions that have been arrived at. Make sure that you own the process, you own the decisions, you own whatever is being communicated. Then you will inspire and motivate. How good are you as a leader? Are you inspiring your team by the way you communicate, the way you give instructions, the way you give feedback? So, leaders will communicate to inspire and to motivate. You're not just giving feedback or instructions, you're making sure that you communicate to inspire and motivate your team members, making sure that you boost the morale and foster a positive work culture. So when people wake up in the morning, they are happy to come to the workplace because you, as the leader, is inspiring them. You are motivating them. You are telling them things that they have done. You are advising them. You are correcting them, but in a positive way. So they feel part and parcel of the institution they are working for. Crisis management. There will be crises once in a while. Like those of you that were leaders during COVID, there was that crisis. How did you communicate to the team members about how work was going to be done within the following months? People were not aware how long it was going to take. Remember, it took longer than we all expected. So, as a leader, how did you manage that crisis? So, leaders communicate effectively during times of crisis. You provide reassurance that things will be okay. You give guidance. You give direction to the team members or to the people that you are leading. During crisis management, your leadership skills will be tested because everyone is looking up to you to manage the crisis. So leaders should inspire as well as engage. So leaders that inspire and engage are curious. They have a hunger for knowledge. They are learning continuously because you'll create an environment where ideas flow freely. So if you are that curious reader, you will make sure that you are informed so that when team members are discussing certain things, you're not left behind. You're also learning. You know the environment, you know the industry, you know what is new. So you create that environment where ideas will flow freely. You also listen. You open your heart and your mind. That is, if you are a leader that wants to inspire and engage. So you will listen and create safe space where people feel they are heard and valued. How do they know they are heard and valued? They know when their ideas are listened to, they are heard, but they are also implemented. When you implement an idea from a team member, they feel very valued and they will be very happy to keep thinking, to keep being creative for in order to contribute to the growth of the institution or the company. Leaders that inspire and engage have empathy. They demonstrate care and concern. Empathy enhances understanding, strengthens relationships. When you are an empathetic leader, staff will be happy to share their concerns because they know they'll be listened to and you will show care. And you will not only show care, you will act in a caring and concerned manner. So, in return, relationships will be strengthened. They are aware. They practice mindfulness. When you are a leader that wants to inspire and engage, you help the team members navigate challenging situations with grace and composure. You are composed even under very difficult circumstances. And you have that grace, showing that you are mindful, you are self aware, and you are aware of the teams that you are working with. They show respect. Leaders that inspire and engage show respect. They build a block of trust. You trust your members. By demonstrating respect, leaders will inspire others to reciprocate. Remember, people do not hear so much what you are saying. They see what you are doing. So they will reciprocate. It will bring a ripple effect if you are respectful. So you will have a team that is very respectful because that's what you are showing them. Leaders should inspire and engage. So, are you commanding attention through authenticity? Usually, I say bring your authentic self to work. Your presence. How is your presence? Leaders who project a strong presence are perceived as more trustworthy, persuasive, and influential. So, as a leader that communicates well, you will communicate authentically. You will command attention. When you start to speak, they will listen. You are influential and also persuasive. Authenticity is a key to building genuine connections. Authentic leaders are true to themselves, they embrace values and principles. If you are authentic, you will not be someone else today and someone else tomorrow. You will be the same every day because you are authentic. You have no pretense. You don't compare yourself with others. You have your leadership skills and style, and you work genuinely, and you connect with people genuinely. So they are genuine connections. Then they will communicate with power and purpose. So every word that you make will count. You don't open your mouth until you are sure of what you are saying. So you will choose your words carefully, ensuring that you convey the message effectively. You see, communication can be learned. So be a student of communication if you want to inspire and engage. Empower others to succeed. So make sure you are an enabling leader, pushing your teams to achieve their full potential. Also, nurture their skills through coaching. And that way, you lead to higher productivity and innovation. Remember, we have said that people who are listened to will communicate, will contribute more. So if you are a leader that inspires and engages, you will push your team members to achieve to their full potential. You will nurture their skills. You will lead them to produce and be innovative. Then how do you communicate with confidence? Confidence comes from competence, knowing what you are doing. Do you understand your subject? Do you understand your job? If you do not understand the job, it will be very hard for you to assert yourself in any communication. So communicate with confidence. So assert your opinion, but based solely on your knowledge. And confidence in communication must be based on your knowledge, in which case you are a continuous leader. You are reading to make sure that you understand that which you are communicating, because you can't communicate with confidence unless you understand the subject. Use language that is clear, specific, and precise. Clarity is key. Even when you set goals, they are smart, but there is clarity. People know what is expected of them. When you give feedback, there is clarity. They know what you are saying, what you observed, and you give that specifically with clarity. Clear, specific, and precise. So reinforce your message with good body language. I'm sure you have seen some place, you have been to some place, and somebody was saying this, but the body language was speaking differently, was showing a different thing. So make sure that when you communicate, your message and the body language are, are reinforcing the same message. Just as you can control your language, you can control your body language. We must learn to communicate effectively as leaders. Then reinforce your message with a good voice tone. You tell people how you feel with words, but show them how you feel with your voice tones, the variety. Are you shouting? Are you screaming? Are you whispering? Are you empathetic? How do you contribute to the way your teams are feeling by your voice tones? How do you vary voice variety based on the circumstance, on the message that you are communicating? Then give yourself a mental encouragement. Some people use that inner voice to give themselves courage and confidence. A lot of times, when I have spoken in front of people, I have kept telling myself, Polly, you can do this. So you must keep encouraging yourself, telling yourself you can do it. But that does not replace researching and knowing what you are communicating about. You need to do your research so you know what you are communicating. So effective leadership communication includes some of the following things. Honesty. You are honest. So you'll be building trust in more than just words. Actions will also show that you are honest. So building trust is more than just words. It is gained through actions. They line up with those words. So be honest as a leader. as you communicate, don't say one thing today, another thing tomorrow. Mean what you say what you mean. Always follow through with your promises. Don't promise something if you cannot deliver. Be reliable, be credible. Do what you say you will do, mean what you say. Communicate communicate wisely with a plan. To avoid making mistake, always make sure that your communication is properly planned. Remember, you are a leader, so communicate wisely with a plan. Be visible. So get your boots to the ground. Be visible and ask the people their thoughts and opinions and listen to what they tell you so that they feel part of the process. Empathetic, be empathetic. I have talked about that. So you will put yourself in the other person's shoes and understand the situation. Build a strong bond so that when you communicate, they listen. Distill the complex into simple, memorable communication or messages. So you will break down complex subjects into clear, easily understandable sentences. Don't communicate in a way that people are left hanging, not knowing exactly what was said. Then embrace openness and honest feedback. It is important that we give feedback to those we lead, and we also have our ears on the ground so that we know what is being said. Some things we may not act on them, but it is important that we know what is happening. So, as much as it may be unpleasant, it is being wrong is a critical part of our learning and growing. We are also growing. Everybody's growing. We are on a growth journey. So embrace that openness and honest feedback. Once in a while, you'll hear those negative feedbacks, but it is important that you listen so that you know what to do and what not to do. Learn how to speak to groups as individuals. You are addressing a hall or a whole staff meeting with so many people. Make sure that every person in the audience feels like you are speaking to them personally. So it is important that when you communicate, your message gets to individuals, not just to the group. So speak to them like you are speaking to each and every one individually or personally. And be consistent in your communication and action. So when you communicate something, you say there are things that you'll do, make sure that you do them. People thrive with consistency, and they especially look for consistency from their leaders. So be that consistent leader that says one thing and they deliver on it. Communicating equally with your employees is important. Make sure you are not seen to be favoring one person, one department, or a certain level of employees. Be seen to be communicating equally to all the employees. Unite people around a single cause. Remember, we are working towards one common goal, one shared goal. So, as leaders, let's unite the people that we work with and we give them clear targets to work towards. So, when they come to work in the morning, they know the targets that they have and they are able to work towards achieving those targets. We must be listeners. Powerful listening skills. We must clear distractions. Show the speaker they have your full attention. I'm sure you have been to an office and when you walked in and the person ushered you in, but they did not move away from their laptop. They did not move away from their phone. They used their phone even as they spoke to you. They were not clear of distractions. So if we want to be effective communicators, who whenever a person walks to our office, they want to talk, um, some important thing, or maybe to share something, let's show them our full attention. Let's not use our phone or our laptop. Let's clear any distractions so that we hear what the person is about to share. We could ask questions and restate their words. That demonstrates that you are listening, and it encourages further discussion. There are times someone will come with an item to talk about, but when you show that you are not interested, they will not give you the full information. So if you want to be seen to be listening, restate their words. So you could say something like, "Oh, you are telling me ABCD," or "You are telling me the report that we did for ABCD company was this and that." Restate what they said so they will see you are listening. Check for nonverbal cues. Acknowledge emotions. People will come to our offices with certain emotions. We must be patient. Listen. Make eye contact. We should never interrupt a conversation. A lot of times we even tell people that we know what they are saying. We do not know. Let the person finish their message. Don't interrupt. Constant interruptions show disrespect. You are dismissing someone, but by constantly interrupting what they want to say. And don't switch topics too soon. Smile appropriately when necessary. And if you will give examples, give good examples, relevant examples. Make it a conversation. Most people do not listen with the intent to understand. They listen with the intent to reply. Are you one of them who will respond to a message even before they have had the entire conversation? So we need to listen with the intent to understand, so that if we are giving a solution, we are giving a solution having understood the entire message. There are certain barriers we will come across as even we communicate. Sometimes it's the communication skills and styles. We understand different things, different styles. So can we stand the people that we are talking to so that we understand their skills, their style? Sometimes it is the social distance and physical barriers. Sometimes we need to communicate an important message. Do we need to communicate physically? Should we do an email? Should we do a Zoom call? So we need to know what kind of communication we are having. Who are we talking to? What do they understand? Then the organizational structure. If we have a company that has hierarchies, information can easily get siloed because of the structure. It also can get lost or distorted as it travels within the organization because of the structures or the bureaucracies or the layers of hierarchy. So we need to be careful that the message that came from the top, or wherever the message has come from, that it reaches every person in its initial or original form. Then information overload. Sometimes we have too much information. It may be good information, but it may be too much. So do you break it down to small pieces so that people understand, so that it doesn't cause more damage? Sometimes the information is too little. It leaves people guessing. Now, what next? They are guessing because the information was too little. They can hardly work work on whatever project they have been given because the information is too little. Then there is lack of trust. When there is no trust, there cannot be effective communication. When employees don't trust their leaders or their bosses or their managers, then they will not listen. So can we work on that to ensure that there is trust amongst the people that we lead? Then other barriers will be lack of clarity, lack of consistency, lack of frequency. When messages across different channels are not consistent, trust gets hurt. Then other barriers are long communication channels, the use of long channels to deliver relevant information in a timely manner. For example, you might have very important information. How do you communicate? Is it through Zoom? Is it through Teams? Is it through a phone call? Is it through a message, an email, a letter? We need to check what we are about to deliver so that we choose the channel carefully. Demography and cultural differences. At times, you are communicating to somebody, and culturally, probably, they do not get messages from it. It will even be gender. Some cultures, there are certain things that you may not say. Religion, there are certain things, even jokes, that you could not give. So those are some of the barriers of communication. So find a common ground for effective communication. At times, wrong communication technology. You are sending an email when you should take a call and call the person, or when you should send a calendar invite and have a meeting and talk through whatever it is that you want to communicate. So, long communication technology could be a barrier. Lack of personalization. People don't feel like you are talking to them. That's one of the biggest reasons why there is disengagement. Yes, you went, you spoke. They didn't feel like you were talking to them. I'm sure you have experienced that. When somebody has come, they have said something, and you ask the other person, and they say, they were not talking to me. So, lack of personalization, that could be a big barrier. Then, grapevine communication. It is crucial for employers to understand the power of grapevine communication in order to be able to control and manage it effectively. When things go out of hand, things have been discussed in the grapevine. How do you deal with such information as a leader? You didn't want it to go out that way, but it is already out. People are discussing it behind the closed doors or in corridors. So, how do you deal with that grapevine when information has already leaked before you even communicated? Lastly, we could improve our communication if through learning. Communicating effectively is a teachable skill. So develop active listening to understand, not to respond. Focus on continuous improvement. When you are continually improving, you will become very good in the subject which you are communicating. So you will communicate with authority, with confidence. Then practice empathy. Build your emotional intelligence so that you know what to say, what not to say, how to say it, and when to say it. Adjust with the changing value. Things are changing, workplaces are changing, there are different things happening. So, how flexible are we? Are we able to adjust? Are we able to change? Then self reflect and adopt. It's important that when you communicate, you self reflect and adopt, because we are all work in progress. We are learning. So, what are we learning? Are we learning how to communicate effectively as leaders, to inspire? And even as we communicate, how do we have clarity? Thank you. If you have any question, please put it in the comment section, and make sure I respond to any of your questions. Thank you, and see you in my next video.